Nope, I'm not moving. Mars is in Taurus, so let's not get into it. Mars, the planet of war and destruction, is going to be entering a new sign on June 9th. Mars is going to be hanging out in Taurus, the sign of its detriment. This is a sign that's ruled by Venus through July 20th. So we're definitely going to see a tonal shift in the way that some of the conflicts are playing out right now on a global level. So Mars entering the sign of its detriment. So in one way, we're going to see things cool down a little bit because Mars is going to be out of fiery, raucous Aries, where, if we've got something to throw in our hands, it is being thrown. So right now, it's going to move into Taurus, where the stability and the consistency and the earthiness of Taurus is going to kind of mellow the coals a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the feelings aren't still there. So because Mars is going to be in detriment, what we're going to see is this planet has to work a little bit harder in order to express its discontent. It has to be, there's a creative component here. In fact, the thing that comes most to my mind as I'm thinking about this combination is resistance. Literally, the stubborn quality of Taurus digging your heels in and saying, I'm not budging, I'm not moving. Like, this is how I feel, things aren't going to change. This is what it is. I'm not budging. So I think about resistance as like naps in grind culture, like saying like I could keep going. The pressures of capitalism mean that I just feel like I should just keep burning that candle at both ends. But you know what? I'm going to rest because my body's telling me to. Or I'm not going to work as hard because it all goes the tax man. Or just like I'm going to live simpler by minimizing the things that I need. I'm going to resist by being more present in my life. So I'm thinking about the creative ways in which Mars can fight by being in this this Venus ruled sign of Taurus, where it's saying like, I want there to be beautiful things. I want to relax. I don't want to exhaust myself. So thinking about the ways we can fight while also saying yes to beautiful things, or ways in which we can say yes to ease and still be saying no at the same time, if that makes sense. Mars gives trouble to wherever it is. So thinking about Taurus and thinking about amenities and food and how we've seen all the emphasis in Taurus really bring an emphasis on inflation, especially like around groceries. I shared this last month, but I remember like just looking at this period, like specifically May and early June, and just thinking like, yeah, financial crisis. And even if there hasn't been like a big moment economically on the world stage, like I'm seeing repeated articles about people finding creative ways to like I saw this woman was living in a grocery store sign and no one knew it for a year. Like it's basically a symptom of the collective that there's a lot of hurt going on for people, and people are finding creative ways just to get by. We've seen soaring food prices in the last year. And so, well, the last several years. So I wonder if what Mars and Taurus will do, if there will be some sort of like inflammation of this ongoing issue. Will there be like something to be done about this ongoing issue? I'm also extremely worried about like the famine that's happening in Gaza right now, and the people, like the everyday civilians who are starving right now because of sabotaged aid and just infrastructure being completely destroyed and demolished. So I am very worried about that. Just knowing the connection that Mars and Taurus has with famine and starvation. Because remember, Mars brings issues to like the land basically with Taurus. So that's something that feels alarming and something to look out for. A popular understanding of Mars and Taurus, or especially like Taurus in general in the ancient world, was a little bit of a departure of the way that we understand Taurus modernly. Historically, Taurus had a connection with farming and therefore laborers. And so Mars and Taurus often would bring like destruction and conflict in the streets, specifically among laborers. And I even have a source from one of my teachers, Dr. Alomi, who I've been studying with, who mentioned that there can be something to the effect of like almost like class war, like tensions between laborers and the elite. So that's something that we might want to watch for as Mars is in Taurus, especially when people don't have food, people are starving. It pushes people to act in different ways. So while Mars is in Taurus, we're definitely going to see a continuation of some of the themes that we've been seeing with the conflict in the world, but it's definitely going to take on a new layer of expression being in Venus's sign. So thinking about resistance, or it's going to mobilize people who have otherwise just been like taking it easy. Remember, Mars is in Taurus now. So there's something about energizing the things that are stable and consistent. There's an energizing that's coming from that. Lastly, we need to talk about Mars is square to Pluto, which is happening on June 11th. So, like right away, right after Mars enters Taurus, we're going to be feeling this incoming square with Pluto. And when Mars and Pluto meet up, it always escalates tensions, feelings of anger, of rage, of impulse. So we typically see acts of violence with this kind of combination. Like it's like a primal unleashing of emotion, of rage, of things that have been pent up. And so a lot of times like that can be really healthy for us as individuals. Like this may be a time where I really recommend you go out and go sweat. Like get a really sweaty workout in there with Mars Pluto as a way to move that energy. This could be a time when just feelings are coming out, and there might be like the littlest offense that you have like a huge reaction to. And it's because of this uprooting, like we need to pop the boil and release the tension thing that happens with this. But unfortunately, because so many people are feeling that, and people may be feeling that in different proportions, we do tend to see acts of like bigger acts of violence with this. Interestingly, with Pluto in Aquarius now, I was watching because there was that very first thing that we saw, like the conjunction of Mars and Pluto in Aquarius, and that brought about this whole theme about Russia wanting to weaponize space and attack space bases and satellites and things like that. So I'm watching for that now with Pluto and Aquarius, of like the ways that tech or space can be harnessed as weapon. Because remember, Mars and Taurus here is like unsuspecting attacks. Like it's in Venus's sign. So it doesn't look like an attack is always happening, but it is. It's like poison in the food or something like that is like Mars and Taurus. Not saying that to scare you, like talking about like the symbolism of like how that used to happen in the ancient world. Like here, have this glass, it's delicious, and then it's Mars hidden in a pretty vase. So thinking about sneak attacks through technology might be something to watch for with this transit. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But as with any Mars aspect like this that is a little bit more volcanic, just be safe out there, look out for yourself, look out for your loved ones. And ultimately, I hope that this Mars and Taurus energy brings some excitement in a good way to wherever it is in your life. And that is your astrology shot of the day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also head on over to my website, catherineurban.com, where you can book your next astrology reading. We'll go into depth into your natal chart, your progressions, your profections, your solar return, your transits, and beyond. You can also join my mailing list where you can stay up to date with me on new classes as well as article drops. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll see you next time.